I walked outside at 6 in the morning with my coffee, and my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the mug. There, zip-tied to my mailbox, was a certified letter from Silverstone Ridge HOA. The header was printed in bold red ink. Final violation notice. Total accumulated fines, $93,000. Below that, a single line that made my blood run cold. Unauthorized structure must be removed within 72 hours, or we will proceed with property lien and foreclosure proceedings. I looked across my front yard, where 4 bronze plaques gleamed in the early Arizona sun. Sergeant Mike Torres, Corporal James Liu, Private Danny O'Connell, Lance Corporal Marcus Reed, my brothers who never came home from Fallujah and Helmand Province. And these people were calling it an unauthorized structure. Before I go any further, I need to say this clearly. What I'm about to tell you is my story, but the names have been changed. This happened, but I'm protecting identities because that's not what matters. What matters is what they tried to do, and what I had to do to stop them. My name is David Brennan. I'm 58 years old, retired after 22 years serving in the United States Marine Corps with 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. 2 deployments to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan. And I lost 4 men I loved like blood family. Mike Torres was 34 when he died in Fallujah in 2006, running into sniper fire to drag a wounded Marine to safety. He took 3 rounds. 2 hit his armor. 1 didn't. James Liu was 24, our tech genius who could disarm any IED. Killed in Ramadi in 2008 by a secondary trigger he didn't spot. Danny O'Connell was 21, from Boston, always singing Irish songs to keep morale up, killed in an ambush in Sanjin in 2009. Marcus Reed was 26, Helmand Province, 2010. He threw himself on a grenade and wrapped his arms around it. The blast killed him instantly. It saved 6 of us, including me. I was 10 feet away. I couldn't hear anything for 3 days except ringing. So when I built that memorial, it wasn't decoration. It was a debt I owed. In January 2024, I started designing it. 6-foot polished gray granite column, 3 feet wide at the base. 4 bronze plaques, 12 by 18 inches each, custom engraved with names, dates, and quotes. Mike's had a line from Springsteen, "We take care of our own." James's had his grandfather's words, "Understanding brings peace, but peace requires courage." Danny's had an Irish blessing. Marcus's had John 15 verse 13. "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends." Above it all, a 20-foot flagpole with a 3x5 American flag and LED lights to illuminate it at night, following proper flag code. I did almost all the work myself. Combat engineer for 22 years means you know how to build things that last. The granite column weighed about 4,800 pounds. I rented a crane and hired 2-day laborers to set it. We worked 7 hours to get it perfectly level, bolted down with stainless steel anchors sunk 8 inches into concrete. That column wasn't going anywhere. Total cost, $6,400 of my savings. I completed it on May 15, 2024, 2 weeks before Memorial Day. That evening, my wife Ellen and I stood before it as the sun set. When the lights came on, the whole memorial seemed to glow. Tom Vasquez, our neighbor, a 63-year-old Army vet from Vietnam, walked over with his wife. He stood there, his weathered face working like he was trying not to cry. "David," he said finally, "those boys are home now." I thought it was one of the most peaceful moments of my life. I should have known peace never lasts. The first letter from Linda Hargrove arrived on May 28th. "Dear Mr. Brennan, we have received multiple complaints regarding the unauthorized structure recently erected in your front yard. Per the CC and RS, all structures must be approved by the Architectural Committee prior to installation. You did not seek approval. Therefore, this structure is in violation. You have 14 days to remove it completely, or the HOA will assess fines of $500 per day until compliance is achieved. Sincerely, Linda Hargrove, HOA President." I read it 3 times. My jaw started aching because I was clenching my teeth so hard. Unauthorized structure. Like it was some lawn gnome. Like those names meant nothing. Ellen came out from the kitchen. I handed her the letter. I watched her face go pale. $500 a day. Her voice went up half an octave. "David, they can't do this. Can they?" Her hands were trembling, and that made me angrier than anything Linda had written. Ellen's a retired RN, 56 years old, worked 32 years at the Phoenix VA hospital. She understood what that memorial meant. I don't know, I said, but I'm going to find out. Let me tell you about Silverstone Ridge and Linda Hargrove. We moved here in 2017, 2 years after I retired. Prescott Valley is a small town in Yavapai County, Arizona, about 90 miles north of Phoenix. Population around 45,000, sits at 5,100 feet elevation. The weather's 20 degrees cooler than Phoenix, with 4 distinct seasons and clean air that smells like juniper and sage. The area attracts a lot of retired veterans. Silverstone Ridge was built in 2011, 147 homes, mostly single-story ranch style. HOA fees were $85 a month for landscaping and pool maintenance. For the first 5.5 years, I had zero problems with the HOA. We paid our fees on time, kept the house neat, followed the rules. Then in June 2023, Linda Hargrove became HOA president. Linda was 52, retired early from some financial firm in Los Angeles, moved to Arizona in 2020. She drove a white Mercedes that was always spotless. She wore cardigans and pearls even walking her dog. And she had opinions about everything. The first time Linda came after me was August 2023. Letters saying my American flag was disproportionately large. My flag was 3 by 5 feet, standard size. I researched and found the Freedom to Display the American Flag Act of 2005, a federal law prohibiting HOAs from restricting flag display. I sent her the statute. Never got a response. In October, she complained my 2003 Ford F-250 was a commercial vehicle. It's registered personal. I sent her the registration. In December, my Christmas lights were too bright. In February 2024, she said my lawn exceeded 3 inches. I measured it. 2.7 inches. I sent photos with a ruler. Ellen told me to let it go, that some people just need to exercise power. But I could feel something building. Later, I found out why. Linda's son Tyler died of a fentanyl overdose in July 2021, just before she moved to Arizona. He was 28. Linda found him in his apartment after 3 days. I learned this months later from a board member. Linda became obsessed with order and rules after Tyler's death. She needed to control her environment because she couldn't control the chaos that took her son. I understand that. Grief makes you do things that don't make sense. But understanding doesn't mean I was going to let her destroy what I built. So when I started building the memorial in February 2024, I was careful. I checked the CC and RS. Section 4.7 said, all outdoor structures must be approved by the Architectural Committee in advance. But there were 3 other homes with elaborate fountains and sculptures, and nobody had gotten violations. I made a calculated decision to build it and deal with any issues afterward. That was naive. Linda's letter gave me until June 11th to remove it, or fines would start June 12th. I wasn't removing anything. On May 31st, I drove to the Yavapai County Recorder's office. Harold Manning, who'd worked there since 1987, helped me pull every recorded document on my property. 2 hours in, I hadn't found anything useful. Then Harold said, "There's an amendment here from 2023. The HOA did work on the entrance gate." He showed me a notice of construction filed by the HOA in July 2023, replacing gate structures with 8-foot decorative stone columns. County code requires a permit for any structure over 6 feet, Harold said. But I don't see a permit number here. That's a code violation. Who signed it? I asked. Harold. Checked. Linda Hargrove, HOA president. I walked out with copies, but I still needed to understand the law. That evening I researched online and found 18 U.S.C. Section 1369, a federal statute prohibiting destruction of veterans' memorials. The statute mostly covered public memorials, but it was vague enough that a good lawyer could argue it might apply to private memorials too. Combined with the flag law and Arizona state protections, it created a web of legal arguments. On June 3rd, I called Veterans Legal Defense, a nonprofit in Phoenix. Sarah Milliken, an attorney there, called back that afternoon and asked me to come to Phoenix. On June 7th, I met her in her office. She was 41, dark hair pulled back, navy blazer, professional. I told her everything. The 4 men. The memorial. Linda's harassment. The $500 daily fines starting June 12th. Sarah listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, she leaned forward. "Here's where we are legally," she said. The Freedom to Display the American Flag Act protects flag display, but HOAs can impose reasonable restrictions on manner of display. They could argue a 6-foot granite structure isn't reasonable. That's one piece. There's also First Amendment expressive speech. Memorials honoring specific individuals are protected expression. Arizona law incorporates some of those principles into HOA regulations. She pulled up 18 U.S.C. 1369 on her computer. This federal statute prohibits destruction of veterans' memorials. Now, I'm going to be straight with you. This law was really written for public memorials. Applying it to private property is a stretch, but it's not a crazy argument. The statute says any structure commemorating service, and yours qualifies. Even if we can't definitively prove it applies, we can make what's called a colorable federal claim, meaning there's enough legal basis that we might win. That creates uncertainty. We combine the flag law, state statute, First Amendment principles, and this federal statute. That's multiple legal theories supporting your right to keep the memorial. The HOA would have to overcome all of them. Their lawyer will calculate the cost of federal court litigation, $50,000 to $100,000 in legal fees, plus the risk of losing and paying your attorney fees. And the media attention would be brutal. An HOA trying to destroy a memorial to fallen Marines? Most rational actors back down. How much will this cost me? I asked. We were living on $6,200 a month, pension and Social Security. We owned the house outright, but we didn't have much margin. Ellen had been having some health issues, nothing serious, but doctor visits and tests weren't cheap even with insurance. Our $28,000 in savings was supposed to be for emergencies. Sarah shook her head. Veterans Legal Defense takes cases like this pro bono. Free. You served 22 years. Those men gave their lives. The least we can do is protect their memory. You won't pay attorney fees. The federal filing fee is about $400, but we can get that waived. This won't cost you anything. I felt my throat tighten. Thank you, I managed to say. Over the next week, Sarah and I drafted a 4-page letter to the HOA laying out every argument. We sent it June 12th, the day fines were supposed to start, via certified mail. I also sent copies to each board member at their home addresses. The response came June 14th from the HOA's attorney, Richard Pollock from Scottsdale. The letter was condescending. While we appreciate your service, the laws cited are not applicable. Your structure was erected on property governed by CC and RS, which are a private contract. Private contracts are enforceable and not superseded by federal statutes. The association intends to proceed with enforcement. Fines of $500 per day commenced June 12th. As of this letter, you have accrued $1,500. I read it to Sarah over the phone. She laughed. Mr. Pollock is wrong on the law. Federal law supersedes private contracts when constitutional rights are involved. We're filing in federal court Monday. That night, Ellen and I had a real conversation about what we were risking. She sat me down at the kitchen table after dinner. David, I need you to listen to me, she said. Her voice was steady, but I could see the worry in her eyes. I support you completely. Those men deserve that memorial. But I need to know you've thought through what happens if this goes badly. We have medical bills coming. We're not young anymore. I need to know this isn't just anger talking. I took her hands. It's not anger. It's about what's right. But you're right to ask. I've thought about it. Sarah says we can win this. And if we don't fight, what message does that send? That we let authorities push us around? That Mike and James and Danny and Marcus don't matter as much as HOA rules? Ellen squeezed my hands. Okay, then we fight. But David, you have to promise me something. If this starts costing us real money, if it threatens everything we've built, you'll tell me. We'll decide together. I promise, I said. That conversation steadied me. Knowing Ellen was fully in it with me, eyes open, made the fear more manageable. June 15th, day 3 of the fines. I woke up knowing I was being charged $500 for honoring my brothers. That afternoon, a white truck from Desert Landscape Solutions pulled into my driveway. 2 men got out, one with a clipboard, the other with a toolbox and pry bar. I felt adrenaline flood my system. We're from Desert Landscape Solutions, the tall one said. We have a work order to remove an unauthorized structure. That's not happening, I said. The stocky guy with the pry bar stepped forward. We can do this easy or hard. We've got authorization. I pulled out my phone and started recording. For the record, this is a memorial honoring 4 United States Marines who died in combat. It's protected under federal law, 18 U.S.C. Section 1369. I've called the sheriff. If you proceed, you'll be arrested. They hesitated. The tall one made a phone call, probably to Linda or Pollock. After a minute, he came back. We're leaving. But this isn't over. Yeah, it is, I said. 3 minutes later, Deputy Mike Cordova arrived. I knew Mike slightly, former Army, Iraq vet. I showed him everything. He read it carefully, looked at the memorial. Chief, he said, I'm writing this up as attempted criminal trespass. If they come back, call 911. Between you and me, what you've got here is protected. Federal law supersedes HOA covenants. Anyone who tries to damage this memorial answers to me personally. That weekend, Tom Vasquez came over with 5 other veterans. David, we're here to tell you you're not alone. If the HOA tries anything, we'll be here. Among them was a younger guy, Chris Delgado, maybe 40, Marine Corps infantry, Iraq vet. He had that wound-tight look young combat vets sometimes carry. Chief, I mean this, Chris said. I'll take leave from work if I have to. Nobody touches those names. I shook my head, moved but firm. I appreciate it more than I can say. But I need to handle this legally. I don't want anyone getting arrested. Chris looked like he wanted to argue, but Tom put a hand on his shoulder. After they left, Ellen came outside. That young Marine, Chris. He needs what you're doing as much as you do. Maybe more. What do you mean? He's still fighting the war, David. You can see it. Having something to protect, brothers to stand with, that's what he needs. Don't shut him out completely. She was right. Over the following weeks, Chris started showing up Saturday mornings. At first he'd just ask what I was working on, then pitch in. We rebuilt Ellen's garden beds, repaired fence sections, painted the garage. We didn't talk much about Iraq or our service. But one morning in late June, while we were mixing concrete for a new walkway, he said quietly, I lost my team leader in Fallujah. Staff Sergeant Morrison. IED got him and 2 others. I was 20 feet away. I'm sorry, I said. Your memorial, it got me thinking I should do something for Morrison. Not something this big, maybe just a plaque or something in my house. Just so I remember him right, you know? Yeah, I said. I know. Sunday afternoon, Linda's Mercedes pulled up. She got out wearing white pants and a pale blue cardigan despite the 92-degree heat. We faced each other at the edge of my driveway. David, she said, we need to talk. You're accumulating fines. As of today, you owe $2,500. By the end of June, it'll be over $10,000. The HOA can place a lien. You could lose your home. Linda, let me tell you something, I said. I've been shot at by people who actually scared me. I've watched men die. Your HOA threatening my home over a memorial to those men doesn't frighten me. She stiffened. This isn't personal, David. Yes, it is, I said. You've been coming after me for a year. That memorial stays. And when this goes to federal court Monday morning, the board will be named as defendants. Every member. You might want to let them know they could be personally liable. Her face went pale. You're suing us? I'm suing to protect my federally guaranteed rights. You chose to violate them. She stood there, mouth opening and closing, then turned and walked back to her car. Ellen had been watching from the window. When I came inside, she was sitting at the kitchen table. I heard most of that, she said. Was I too hard on her? I asked. Ellen thought for a moment. No, you told her the truth. She needs to hear it. On Monday, June 17th, Sarah filed a complaint in U.S. District Court for the District of Arizona. The case was Brennan versus Silverstone Ridge HOA et al. We sued the HOA and the 5 board members individually, claiming violation of civil rights, violation of the flag law, violation of Arizona statute, and seeking injunctive relief and damages. The complaint was 31 pages. Sarah attached photos, letters, my video of the landscapers, everything. She also filed a motion for temporary restraining order asking the judge to immediately halt the fines. The filing fee was waived based on my income and veteran status. That same day, Sarah served everything on Richard Pollock. His response came Wednesday, and the tone was completely different. We have reviewed the complaint. Our client wishes to explore resolution through negotiation. Would you be available for a settlement conference? Sarah called me. They're folding. They looked at federal court and realized they're on the wrong side. But we're not settling unless the terms are right. Here's what we demand. 0 fines, complete removal of violation records, written acknowledgement the memorial is protected permanently, reimbursement of attorney fees, and Linda Hargrove's resignation as president. Can we force her to resign? We can make it a condition. They can accept or go to trial. And David, I found something else. Richard Pollock is listed as registered agent and 20% owner of Desert Landscape Solutions. He has a financial interest in the company the HOA hires. That's a massive conflict of interest he never disclosed to his client. The settlement conference call was Friday, June 21st. On the line were Sarah, Pollock, Linda, and the 4 other board members. Linda started with a prepared statement about respecting veterans, but maintaining standards. Sarah cut her off. Mrs. Hargrove, let's be clear. Your association violated my client's federal rights. You subjected him to $5,000 in illegal fines. You sent contractors to destroy a memorial to men who died in combat. This isn't about misunderstandings. Pollock spoke carefully. What are your settlement terms? Sarah laid them out. 0 fines. Violation records removed. Written acknowledgement the memorial is protected. $12,000 in attorney fees based on our actual time invested. Linda's resignation by July 1st. That last demand is non-negotiable, Sarah said. My client won't live in a community where the person who tried to destroy his memorial holds power over him. You're free to decline and go to trial, where Judge Roberts, himself a Vietnam veteran, will review how you ignored federal law protecting veteran memorials and flag displays. I'm also confident the media will be interested. I've had inquiries from 2 Phoenix TV stations and the Arizona Republic. Long pause. Muffled conversation. Then Greg Patterson's voice, angry. Richard, do you own part of Desert Landscape Solutions? I have a minority stake. Yes, but were you going to tell us you're making money every time you recommend that company? I don't see how that's relevant. Sarah interrupted. It's extremely relevant because it means your advice to the HOA has been compromised by your personal financial interest. You had a duty under Arizona rules of professional conduct to disclose any conflict to your client. The board may want to audit all vendor contracts and legal advice you've given over the past 2 years. Another long pause. Pollock said quickly, we'll have an answer by Monday at 5. You have 48 hours, Sarah said. After that, we're proceeding with our motion for preliminary injunction, and we'll be amending our complaint to add claims based on the undisclosed conflicts of interest we've discovered. She hung up. Over the weekend, Ellen and I tried to keep busy, but the waiting was hard. Saturday afternoon, Chris came by to work on a project, but I was too distracted. We ended up just sitting on the back patio with beers. How you holding up, Chief? He asked. Honestly, terrified, I said. What if they don't settle? What if we lose? You won't lose, Chris said with certainty. Why are you so sure? Because you're right. And sometimes that actually matters. Monday came. 4:30. 4:45. I was pacing. At 4:47 p.m., Sarah called. We won. Different attorney emailed me, Rebecca Suarez from Prescott. Pollock withdrew as counsel due to conflicts. The board accepted almost all our terms. They'll pay $8,500 in attorney fees, which reflects a compromise we can live with. Linda resigned effective immediately. They're drafting the settlement agreement now. I sat down hard in a kitchen chair. Ellen put her hand on my shoulder. It's over. I asked. It's over, Sarah said. You won. The settlement was signed July 10th after lawyers worked through the details. All fines canceled. My property record cleared. The HOA passed a resolution, recorded with the county, acknowledging the memorial at 2847 Desert Willow Drive is a protected veterans memorial permanently exempt from all HOA restrictions. The $8,500 check arrived July 18th. Sarah told me that money would help 3 other veterans with their own legal battles. In a way, she said, Mike, James, Danny, and Marcus are still serving. Greg Patterson called me. David, I need to apologize. I should have stood up to Linda earlier. What she did was wrong. The board is passing new policies protecting veteran memorials and requiring financial disclosure from vendors. What Pollock did can't happen again. I heard through the grapevine that Pollock's firm dissolved, his partnership with Hendricks imploding over the undisclosed conflict. His reputation in Arizona legal circles was destroyed. Last I heard, he was working as a compliance consultant in Tucson, making a fraction of what he used to earn. Sometimes consequences find you even without official punishment. The HOA held elections in November. Tom Vasquez ran for president and won with the highest turnout in community history. Not everyone was happy with me. Ron Cassidy left a note on my windshield calling me a litigious troublemaker. His wife, Carol, stopped talking to Ellen, would literally turn and walk away at the grocery store. One day in August, Ellen came home from Safeway, and I could tell she'd been crying in the car. Carol was in the produce section. We used to have coffee together every week. She looked right through me like I didn't exist. I held her while she cried. "I'm sorry this is affecting you." "Don't apologize," she said, wiping her eyes. "You did the right thing. It just hurts losing a friend over it. Want me to talk to Ron?" "No, it won't help. She made her choice. I just wish people could see that this was never about causing trouble. It was about 4 men who died for us. But most people were supportive. I got cards thanking me. Mrs. Henderson, an 83-year-old widow, brought over a casserole. "My husband was in Korea," she said. "He would have been proud of what you did." Chris kept coming by Saturday mornings through the fall. We'd work on projects, and gradually he started talking more. About his team leader Morrison. About the guilt of surviving. About struggling to adjust to civilian life. One morning in October, he showed me a design he'd sketched for a small memorial plaque he wanted to make for Morrison. "Think this looks okay?" he asked. "I think Morrison would be honored," I said. He nodded, not saying anything, but I could see his eyes were wet. On Memorial Day 2025, Tom asked if the community could hold a ceremony at the memorial. "We've never done anything formal. Your memorial should be the center of it." We expected maybe 40 people. More than 120 showed up. Residents, veterans from other neighborhoods, families, elderly folks. The memorial became the gathering point. Pastor Jim Kellerman, a retired Navy chaplain who lived 3 streets over, led with a simple prayer asking for comfort for those who'd lost loved ones and courage for those still serving. Then Tom read names. Not just my 4, but every fallen service member connected to our area going back to World War II. 23 names total. After each name, a moment of silence. Families placed flowers and flags. I watched a young boy, maybe 8, place a small American flag with intense concentration, making sure it stood straight. Then Tom asked me to speak. I walked up to the microphone, looked at those 4 bronze plaques gleaming in the morning sun, and the words came. Mike Torres had 3 kids who grew up without a father because he didn't hesitate when a wounded Marine needed help. James Liu wanted to start a tech company someday, but he died disarming a bomb in Ramadi. Danny O'Connell sang Irish rebel songs and wrote his mother every single day. Marcus Reed loved Captain America comics and wanted to teach history and coach baseball. These men weren't superheroes. They were regular guys who had dreams about coming home. They gave up those futures for each other. This memorial is about remembering they lived. They laughed. They told stupid jokes. They mattered. And they deserve to be remembered not just on Memorial Day, but every day. Not just with flags and ceremonies, though those are important, but with how we live. With whether we stand up when something's wrong even when it costs us something. That's how we really honor them. When I finished, people were crying. The young boy walked up and placed another flag. Then another kid did the same. Within minutes, dozens of small flags surrounded the memorial, red and white and blue, fluttering in the morning breeze. Ellen took my hand. She didn't say anything. Didn't need to. After the ceremony, people lingered. Veterans swapped stories. Kids ran around. Someone brought drinks and food. Chris Delgado came over with a woman I didn't know. "Chief, this is my girlfriend Amy. I told her about what you did, fighting for the memorial. It kind of inspired me to get my shit together. Excuse the language. We're talking about getting engaged." "That's great, Chris," I said, shaking Amy's hand. "Congratulations." After they walked away, Tom came over with a beer. "You started something bigger than you know," he said. "How do you mean?" Chris isn't the only one. 3 other vets in the neighborhood have talked to me about building their own memorials. Small ones, plaques or gardens. You showed them it was okay to remember publicly. I've thought a lot about Linda and why she did what she did. Diane Chun told me more of the story. Tyler had struggled with addiction for years. Linda and Doug had tried everything: rehab, interventions, support groups. Nothing worked. Finding him dead destroyed something in Linda. She couldn't save her son, couldn't control the chaos of addiction and loss, so she tried to control everything else. The HOA became her way of imposing order on a universe that felt random and cruel. She saw my memorial, something that appeared without permission, and it represented everything she feared: the unpredictability of death, the way it comes without asking. Then in March 2026, almost a year after the settlement, Greg Patterson called me. David, I thought you should know. Linda called me yesterday from New Mexico. She's been in therapy, working through Tyler's death. She asked me to tell you something. What's that? She said she's sorry. She said she realizes now that she was wrong, that grief made her cruel to someone who didn't deserve it. She said she hopes your memorial stands forever and that those 4 Marines are finally getting the honor they deserve. I was quiet for a moment. Tell her I appreciate that. And tell her I hope she finds peace. I will, Greg said. I meant it. Linda made terrible choices, tried to destroy something sacred, but she was a mother in pain. Grief doesn't excuse what she did, but it explains it. And having the courage to admit she was wrong, even a year later, even indirectly, that took something. The deeper question I've wrestled with is this. Where's the line? When do we stand and fight? And when do we let things go? Fighting cost me 8 months of stress. It cost Ellen worry and damaged friendships with people like Ron and Carol who will probably never get back. Was it worth it? For me, absolutely, because I was protecting something sacred. But here's what I've learned. You draw the line at what's sacred. For me, it was 4 men who gave everything so I could live free. That's non-negotiable. Other things, paint colors or fence styles or lawn height, those you can negotiate and compromise on. But the things that define who you are, the things that represent your deepest values and commitments, those are worth fighting for. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. We've lost something in America when we're more concerned about property values than about values. When we let petty authorities push us around because it's easier than pushing back. When an HOA can threaten a veteran's home over a memorial to fallen Marines, something's wrong. Mike Torres used to say, freedom isn't free, and it isn't finished. The price of freedom gets paid on battlefields overseas and in front yards at home. Whenever someone stands up to illegitimate authority and says, no, this is wrong, and I won't accept it. I still go out every morning with my coffee and stand before the memorial. I tell Mike about my grandson starting Little League, how the kid has his grandfather's determination even if he can't hit a curveball yet. I tell James about the clicking noise in my truck's front right wheel that I finally diagnosed as a worn CV joint. I tell Danny about the terrible action movie I watched on Netflix, the kind he would have loved. I tell Marcus I'm still here because of him, and I try every day to make it worth it, to live a life that honors what he gave. Some people think that's morbid, talking to dead men every morning. Ellen asked me about it once, gently, whether maybe I should talk to someone professional about it. But it's not morbid. It's remembering. It's making sure they're not just names on bronze plaques, not just statistics in a Pentagon database, but real people who lived and laughed and mattered. The memorial stands today exactly as I built it. Every morning, the sun lights those bronze plaques. Every evening, the lights come on automatically and the flag glows against the darkening sky. It's permanent now, protected by federal and state law, by a settlement agreement recorded with the county, and by a community that's learned what it means to honor sacrifice. Maybe someday my grandchildren will bring their kids to see it, and someone will tell them about 4 Marines who gave everything. That's all I ever wanted. If you're in a fight with your HOA or any authority that thinks rules matter more than rights, here's what I learned. First, know the law. Don't assume they're right just because they have official letterhead. Research your rights. The law is public and accessible. Second, document everything. Every letter, every conversation, every interaction. Take photos. Make recordings if your state allows it. Build a paper trail. Third, find help. Organizations like Veterans Legal Defense exist to help people fight these battles. You don't have to do it alone, and you shouldn't. Fourth, stay calm. Anger makes you stupid. Let the law do the work. And fifth, remember why you're fighting. Know what's sacred to you, and don't let anyone take it without a fight. But also know the cost. Ellen and I are still dealing with the social fallout. Some relationships didn't survive. That's reality. Count the cost before you commit. And involve the people you love in the decision, because they'll pay the price too. Mike Torres, James Liu, Danny O'Connell, Marcus Reed. They're not unauthorized structures. They're Americans who gave everything. They're my brothers. They're home now, standing watch in my front yard, reminding everyone who passes that some things are worth fighting for, some things are worth dying for, and some things are worth remembering forever. That's my story. A $93,000 fight over a monument that cost $6,400. 8 months of legal battles and stress. Friendships damaged, sleep lost. Ellen crying over losing Carol. Chris Delgado finding purpose. A community learning to honor sacrifice. And in the end, for names still shining in the Arizona sun, protected by law and love, and the simple refusal to let death and bureaucracy have the final word. Thank you for listening. If you've got your own story about standing up for what's right, leave a comment. Tell me what you'd fight for. Tell me where you draw the line between what you'll compromise on and what's sacred. And if you're a veteran dealing with something similar, reach out. Organizations exist to help. You're not alone. We take care of our own. Semper Fidelis.